Andrew McCart, iFLTV, delighted to be joined by Mr. Dave Coldwell himself. Dave, first and foremost, how's your Sunday been?
Been all right, mate. It's been all right. Yeah, usual Sunday football. Um, Talking about a previous night's fights, and now what we're on nearly 3 o'clock. It's time to chill a little bit.
Yeah. Well, there's no Premier League football and no Scott. It's all cup games in it
Yeah,
this weekend, so there's nothing to look forward to at 3 o'clock. Do you know what I
oh, yeah.
mean? So I've got you instead. But I wanted to talk to you because Derek Chisora, an icon, and I don't use that word lightly, man. I know he is an icon of British boxing. And when you talk about the nights he's gave us, whether it is
Yeah.
the flipping of the tables at press conferences, kissing David Hay and what and whatnot, punching David Hay, getting glassed and all that sort of stuff. So I want to talk about the fight last night before we talk about his career because you've worked in the corner, you've worked with Derek Chisora before in the past. You know exactly what he's like as a character. But Dave, last night was fitting to end his career here in the UK, wasn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm over the moon for him. Final fight in the UK. You could see in the build-up when he walked into the venue and he walked into changing rooms how emotional he was getting. Yeah, it was sad, but at the same time, it was nice. He got the ending that his career deserved, really. A really good performance against Otto Wallin. His punches in bunches was incredible. You know, he was absolutely gassed, but he kept going and kept going, kept churning out the combinations. It's Derek Chisora, and it's symbolic of his career where he's one of the few fighters that you could say that actually physically give it absolutely every time. Every time he gets in the ring, gives it absolutely everything they've got. And he did so again last night. Um, yeah, I'm glad he got the win. A couple of Otto Wallin. I thought he was awful. I thought he didn't in terms of ambition shown, and
Mm.
at first you think it's a bit of a game plan. He's looking to wait and just wait for Derek to get tired a little bit, ride out the first few rounds, and then go to work. Never, it was never in there to try and win the fight. He was intimidated by Derek. He knew Derek was going to come at him, but he showed no ambition to try and counteract that. So yeah, it all just evolved into a perfect sort of storm for Derek.
Thing is with Derek as well, man, that overhand right, every man in boxing knows that's his go-to punch. But
Knows it's coming.
you can't stop it. You just can't
Yeah,
stop it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
He's got good. He's always had good timing on that. If he can get his feet in range, especially when he goes down to the body first and then fires it over, it's a brilliant shot for him. It's caused so much havoc, so much destruction along his 49 fights. Yeah, and it was fitting that the final punch of his UK career sort of thing dropped his opponent. So that was good.
Definitely. Now, obviously, I saw your tweet about the judge 114, 112, and
Mate,
although
what is that about?
you tell me, Dave,
So what you're saying there is that if he didn't have those two knockdowns, he doesn't win the fight. That's just ridiculous. Just it's bollocks.
mm,
Who was it? Who was the judge? I never caught who it was.
I never caught it myself either. So it is. I mean, the right he had Gisora winning, but like you say, the right man won. But still, it's like, how did you? I
Yeah,
want
but
to.
only because of the knockdowns.
That's what I
Two
mean.
knockdowns.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't knock him down, Chisora after that performance and after Wallen after that performance, Chisora doesn't win the fight. Mate, we're seeing some pretty screwed up scorecards, in our time in boxing. But that's right up there. I don't understand how you can have the fight like that. And this again, it's where I'm saying when I'm saying I don't understand how you come to that. This is why, as a coach, as a manager, as a promoter, as a fighter who just gets beat, there's a microphone that's stuck in front of the face, and they're asked, "What's your thoughts on the fight? What's your thoughts on that?" As a coach, did he get it wrong? What a judge can just on any scorecard piss off. That's it. And yes, there's the furor from the fans, but he doesn't have to acknowledge that. He just goes on to his next job or her next job, and it's like there's no accountability. There's no just. I feel that they should be asked to explain. You know, when it's in controversial circumstances like this, and when you're going, how? Ask them the question. They have to answer and justify how they saw it. You don't have to change your mind if that's how you see the fight. Not a problem. But it's like me and you might see a fight and we see it differently, and you're like, what? And then you'll say, well, how have you come to that? And then I explain to you, and they go, well, I don't agree, but I see where you're coming from. It kills the perception of where somebody's just don't like that guy. I'm scoring for this one, or do you know what I mean? And especially with people that aren't in the game, they'll just think, oh, it's corrupt. But don't forget, Derek was a home fighter, so it's not about corruption. It's not. People always like to think that, but it also happens with the home fighters as well. There is no way that Otto Wallin was anywhere near that fight, and yet the 2 knockdowns is what gave Derek Chisora the win on that guy's scorecard. Bullshit.
The thing is, would you like to see the judges? I mean, it doesn't have to be straight away like a raw interview straight after the fight.
No,
Maybe
like backstage. Yeah.
Explain to us how you got to that score. Explain to us how you gave Chisora 2 rounds after 2 knockdowns in that type of fight. Go ahead.
100%. That's what I want. Because you could see, let's say if it's after the fight or what, you see now quick on social media that there's a photo of the scorecards of a big fight every time, and this is how the judges had it, or whether it's controversial or not. We get to see the scorecards a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
So have an interview and be asked and say, okay, in round 6, you go back and watch the fight, Otto Wallin or whoever it may be did jack shit, but you gave him the scorecard, you gave him the round. What did you see? What did you see that we didn't and the rest of us didn't see? Ask the question and then it gives you an answer. And 9 times out of 10, if it is, if it is where they're full of shit and they don't like the guy that's in the ring or whatever, or they've had a run-in with the manager or a trainer before and thought, oh, I'm not saying they do that, but it's like anything. Sometimes you can let emotions get involved. So sometimes if you don't like somebody, or if you're wanting somebody else to win, but maybe sometimes like where we might see fights as a bit biased. Like we'll say, oh, you shouldn't commentate on your friends or things like that because you're kind of like looking for their work more than noticing the other person's work because you kind of want them to win. Now it's different when you're commentating or when you're watching as a fan, because your opinion doesn't actually have an effect on the fight.
Mm-hmm.
A judge's opinion has an effect on the fight. So whether he dislikes a person, whether he's got a chip on his shoulder about a person, again, I'm not saying that's a reason, but in certain circumstances, human nature, I can see how that could happen. Maybe then, when he's being held accountable and he knows he's got to justify his scores, really, maybe that stops that from happening because he knows he's being held accountable. But when he knows he can just ride off into the sunset and go on to the next fight, I don't give a shit. Fucking close fight, close round. Okay, I'm going to give it fighter X. Close round, yeah, give it him again. Close round, yeah. So every close round, he may lean towards to the fighter. Again, I'm not saying he is doing, she is doing, but I'm saying if they let emotions get involved, then perhaps they may do. Because you can have a run-in with a judge, with a referee. You can, because boxing is emotional. So as a coach or as a manager, as a promoter, if you don't agree with something and you don't agree with that decision and you feel as though you won and you're like fucking kicking off and say, judge is bullshit, this and then they might think, take it a bit personal. But you yourself, once emotions have died, it's like, here's what it is, you move on to the next fight. But then do they hold on to it when they come to then be judging you next time? I'm not saying it's the reason, but I'm saying it's a possibility. And it's, as a coach, I've been with certain, I've had certain referees in the past where I felt they're always pulling up my fight for this,
Mm.
and it's just like, what? Always, you just think, well, maybe they've just got, they don't like that fighter style, or they don't like the fighter, or they don't like me, or whatever. You don't know. But when you're being made to answer the question, it takes that away, because then you could actually listen to them what they say and say, you know what? Yeah, I can see that. I can, because don't forget the judges' views. They have it. So they're in three different spots.
Mm-hmm.
When there's four sides of a ring, fans can see fights differently, because a shot that you see landing clear, if I'm sat behind the fighter, I don't know whether it's actually been parried or if it has hit him. You might see that he's parried it or he's blocked it, but from my view behind him, I see that, I might think the shot's landed. So understanding circumstances like that, and but that's why I think if you interview judges, you get you probably get an interesting reasoning, and where you can go, I don't agree with you, but I can see, and
Mm-hmm.
it takes that bit of taste out. It takes that bit of wondering, is it because there's an agenda, or is it because, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I just think that's probably the best way we can go ahead, move forward with it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I agree with you because you don't have to do it right after the fight and get it as a
No,
raw interview. You know what I mean? Like, do it maybe as a written explanation on an interview inside the British Boxing Body Control headquarters or something like that, just saying this is how this judge, when it's such a controversial decision, and this is what he said, and it's like a you don't we don't have to get him on camera and do a
no.
face-to-face interview, like really put him out there. Just explain yourself a little bit so we can
But
understand.
don't. But you see, the thing is, this is why I do think that it should be done. Is because everybody can get things wrong.
Mhm.
We can, as commentators, we can see a fight completely one way, and you're hearing everybody else, or after the fight, you're like, whoa, did we get this? And it's a different perspective. So I'm not saying, that they're all bad judges, but what I'm saying is, on some occurrences, it looks like the bad judges, but you can look at someone and go, what is it? What is he on about? But then he's got a good track record of always calling fights well, and it's like, just let's find out a reason. You
Mm.
know, like I said, everyone can see things differently. I get that, but in fights like that, Wallen, come on, mate, what did he do in that fight? What did he do to win that fight, or get close? Get close. What did he do? Again, I'm saying two knockdowns are the only reason why that man gave Derek Chisora the win. Come on.
Well, listen, it did not affect the decision, which is a good thing,
Oh,
right?
thank
That's the
God.
main thing. It didn't affect the decision. But Derek Chisora after the fight came out with a three-man hit list. I think he had Skepta, Lethal Bizzle, and who else did he
Ah,
have with
yeah.
him? Yeah, somebody else. Listen, I was there for the fight week, Dave, right? The media workout, public workout, he was on fire. Del Boy he was telling jokes. He was getting fans in the rings, giving out tickets. The media was dressed as a cowboy, listening to country western music, picking on the media and whatnot. The way in, he got Otto Wallin in a headlock, and he started giving out tickets again. He's been on fire. And after the fight in the ring, he had like Skepta and Lethal Bizzo, and he had a three-man hit list: Dubois, Usyk, and Joshua. Now I can't see the Usyk fight. I can't really see the Dubois fight, but you know what? I can see the Joshua fight. Can you?
I could. They're both mates, aren't they? He's
Yeah.
always been a big supporter of AJ. He's a strange one, Derek. He loves you, and he's a big supporter of you, but he wants to punch you in the face. um, uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know what plans are for AJ, but last I heard, he was looking at. Last I heard, I don't know if he's right, but I got told that is the Bacoli fights there or thereabouts. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Um, but yeah, I could see that. I could see AJ versus Derek. Derek and Tyson Fury are good mates. They fought, the second time round. So I don't know. Dillian Whyte could be one. Um, fight number 50 is his last one. I know this was the last one in the UK, so I'm presuming there'd probably either Derek's hoping for either Saudi or for maybe even Africa. I know he spoke about that in the past. So I don't know, that could be. The Dubois one, I know that was an eliminator for the IBF title, which means that he could, because it's an eliminator, but it's not a final eliminator.
Bakolia Dagba's the final eliminator, yeah.
Yeah, and Bakolian stepping aside for nobody. So he's not going to get that for his 50th. I really can't see that. And although sentimental viewpoint is, oh yeah, you'd love to see him go out in a world title fight. I wouldn't want him to fight Daniel Dubois. I was happy with last night because he didn't actually take much punishment. A lot of Derek's fights, especially lately, he's taking a lot of heavy shots and he's having to go to the well all the time. Last night was more about fatigue and about fighting the tiredness, not having to worry about heavy shots coming his way. Because even the shots that Wallen was putting together were all little arm tippy tap shots, kind of what you throw on a double end bag. So punishment wise, it didn't take much more out of Derek. I wouldn't want him to go in with somebody that can really punch like Daniel Dubois. So yeah, I wouldn't want to see that fight. Like I said, stages that they are in their career, Dillian Whyte. I mean, the AJ fight wouldn't even been. It's not, I know people like to give AJ a lot of stick and demean his capabilities, but I wouldn't even want to see Derek fight AJ, to be honest. But I know what he is. He wants the big fight to go out on fight number 50. So we'll have to wait and see what the plans are.
The thing is what I'm thinking. Does Del Boy want to end his 50th on a win and maybe get that little knockover fight so he guarantees the win and he doesn't lose on his last fight, or does he want the big huge payday? Maybe it is Anthony Joshua, or maybe somebody's going to pay him that trilogy fight for Dillian Whyte. They're going to be tougher fights, but he might lose on his last fight.
Well, let's have a look at the 3 pictures he held up in the ring. That was his wish list.
Yeah.
Not one of them was what you would associate with as, oh, I'm going to get fight number 50 is going to give me the win. Not one of them. They're all like horrible fights for him.
I was sure that Dillian Whyte wasn't on there. I was hoping that Dillian Whyte would have been there, because I think when you look at the 2 fights that they had with each other, a third fight makes sense, especially this stage, because Dillian Whyte's only had a couple of sort of gimme fights as well. Chisora's on a good run of form with the Joyce and Wallen fight, so you can almost say at this stage in the career that makes sense for both fighters, is to have that trilogy.
That's what I think. I think that's the fight, because his career is kind of like, when you think about Chisora, I know he's fought a host of names and he's had an unbelievable career, but you kind of do go back and think about the Dillian Whyte fights, because they were just unbelievable. Like you said, the stage of career that both men are at right now, that is kind of like the one that you would say, yeah, that'd be a good way to go out on fight number 50. And I know there's a lot of respect between both now. It was nice to see Dillian in the change rooms with Derek beforehand. So yeah, that was nice, and that spite and everything between them was gone. But when you put those 2 fellas in a boxing ring, it's going to come alive for that 12 rounds, and it's going to be an absolute war for 12 rounds, whatever level it's at. You put the both at a stage where you would say there's not going to be much defense going off, and it's just going to be all out attack from both.
Music to our ears. Music to our ears. Just two.
Yeah. It's not great for what's in between your ears if you're in the ring, but yeah, it's music to everybody else's ears as fight fans, and you say, all right. I think again, out of those 3 fights that he put up in the ring, a Dillian Whyte fight would also get his juices flowing and get him up for that as well. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. Dave, one final one for me before I let you go and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. You've worked with Derek before in the past. He's gave us some great nights, and I'll ask that sort of like, what's been the funniest moment or the best moment for you? It can be something that he's done out with your camp, or do you have a funny story that you can tell us, or is that something you have to wait?
Not that I can tell you now.
Oh, I was going to say that, but what's what stories or what's been the funniest or best moment or best memory for you with Derek Chisora?
Um, I don't know. Do you know what? It was a really good guy to have in the gym. It was really surprising how he was with the young lads in the gym. You know, like Hopi and people like that in our stable. He's very supportive. It was great. Um, he's always funny when you're out and about because you don't know how he's going to react to people. When people come up to him and ask him for a photo or anything like that, it can just be like he could be laughing and jovial and everything, and somebody comes up to him and asks him, and he's just going no, and you're like, well, he makes you feel awkward. And but then it can also be absolutely fantastic, you know. And he's great with kids, and he's a good fella. But I mean, in terms of fights and things, I'll never forget when he was getting absolutely bashed up by Carlos Takam,
Mm.
and he launches that overhand right and just absolutely flattened him. I know Takam got up off the first knockdown, and then went and he stopped him with this with the follow up attack. But that was incredible. For me, the Spilka performance
Yeah.
with me, I enjoyed that because that was weird because all the way through camp, he wasn't quite getting it. Wasn't quite getting it. And it came to the last spar, and then the last week of training, and everything just clicked, and he went out and did the job. But mate, Dillian Whyte won.
Yeah.
That fight was. I think for a heavyweight fight that I was at, I don't think I've ever seen anything as incredible as that. I think it was just, you know, where you just keep thinking that somebody's absolutely gone, shattered, oh, he's gone, and he keeps firing back, and they were both, you know, back and forth. I think that fight is probably the best heavyweight fight I've seen in person live. It was unbelievable. It was close enough to Rocky, really. So
Mm.
that's something for me that stands out.
The thing is, there's hundreds of things we can talk about with Del Boy because he's gave us so many memorable memories. And we're talking about like he's retired. He's still got one more fight. We've still got one more fight to
Yeah,
look
one more
forward
fight.
to.
Yeah,
So he's not
yeah.
retired yet.
It should have been the Last Dance, and then in brackets UK.
Yeah, definitely. But listen, he's gave us Del Boy, you're a legend, mate. I've grown up watching you, so thanks for everything you've done for British boxing. But like I say, he's not done yet. We've got one more fight, and fingers crossed it is Dillian Whyte. But Dave, thank you so much for giving up your time on a Sunday for little old me. As always, I do appreciate it, my friend.
Anytime, man. You know that. Anytime.
Definitely. Listen, I hope your stable's doing well. We'll get another chat with you when you've got a couple of fights lined up as well. And, until the next time, Dave. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate. See you soon.
Thanks, Dave.